everyone, good morning. It's nice to see you guys. Mrs. Dahlhuff here from the comfort of my own home, but wishing I was with you. Seriously, that's not a joke. It's for real, even though it is April Fool's Day today. I do wish I was there. So anyway, let's just dive into what we need to do for where the red fern grows, because we have a couple issues we have to address. I went over your papers this morning, and some of them had a few issues with number one, sentence structure. You're in English class, you have to write using complete sentences. There's no exceptions. You can't write IDK. You have to use a capital letter. You have to have a subject and a predicate. We'll get to that later. But you also have to have end punctuation. Those are basic parts of sentences, and you have to do that, at least if you've been with me for any length of time. Also, I miss you guys. I forgot to say that right off the bat. But in any case, back to where the red fern grows. I went through all of your answers. I typed up responses. Your sub will be giving those to you this afternoon or during class at some point. So you can kind of go over my comments and make sure that you can make some corrections for next time around. Aside from that, let's just go right into chapters 1, 2, and 3 of Where the Red Fern Grows. Chapter 1, Billy is the narrator. We know he's first person story narrator because he uses pronouns like I. That's automatically an indicator that it is told in first person. That's going to be important when you do your book report on this at the end, and you will, I promise. So make sure you remember that it's told in first person. In the first chapter, Billy is actually an adult. I don't know if he still goes by Billy, but it's about 50 years after the entire rest of the story. And that's because he's looking back on his childhood starting with the age of 10, and thinking about this time when he had acquired dogs of his own and the struggle that he went through to get those dogs. This whole book is kind of about the theme of that hard work and what you do to actually pursue the dreams in your life. Billy had a dream of getting dogs, and chapter 2 goes right into that time when he was 11 years old, wanting those dogs and plotting out this dream to make that happen. So chapter 2 questions, they talk about things like what he wanted to do to make the dream happen. He was willing to work hard. He had made a plan. He was going to sell bait at his grandpa's store. He was going to pick berries, and he did, barefoot, blackberries, and sell those at his grandpa's store. And he even trapped animals and sold the furs, the pelts, at his grandpa's store. So that's chapter 2. He's making this plan. He's got this dream. But you can't really just have a dream and have it come true. You have to actually be willing to do the work to make it happen. But Billy's willing to do that even at age 10. So chapter 3 opens up. Billy's 10. It goes through the next 2 years of his life, so he's 12 by the time chapter 3 ends. But it goes through his struggle to make that dream happen. He started off with just 23 cents in his little tin can bank that he had. He put that 23 cents, and think about it. In this day and age, we would not even bother to pick 23 cents up off the ground if we saw it. 2 dimes and 3 pennies, probably not going to happen. But in this time, and this is where higher level thinking comes in, you guys. These 6th graders, you might think, yeah, he started off with 23 cents. But you older kids got to know that 23 cents in this time period, which is the Great Depression, was enough money to buy a loaf of bread for his family. So 23 cents was a lot more than what it is today. So just make sure you're thinking at your grade level, and kind of process this stuff. But in any case, Billy works hard in chapter 3 for 2 years, from 10 to 12, and he goes to his grandpa one day and he says, hey, dude, I've got my $50. I'm ready to buy these 2 coon dogs that I've wanted. So he goes about telling his grandpa how he earned this money, and his grandpa's kind of shocked. But his grandpa's response was, don't tell your dad. Now, Billy's parents were perfectly nice, but the grandpa said, don't tell your dad, because $50 during the Great Depression would buy the mule, and that was the answer to one of the questions. But the rest of that answer was, what could Billy's parents have done with a mule? How would that have fixed Billy's parents' life for the whole family? The mule would have been able to plow fields. It would have provided more food for the family. Could have rented out that mule for jobs and earned more money for the family. So $50 then is just a huge deal. I mean, $50 today is still nice, but back then it was huge, a life-changing amount of money. So just make sure when you're answering that you answer using your higher level thinking skills so that you're answering the questions fully. And that's pretty much the end of chapter 3 is when Billy's grandpa decides or tells Billy that he'll write that letter to see if the dogs are still available. So Billy's got that hope of getting these dogs. Chapters 4, 5, 6, and 7, you'll have that finished reading and questions that you'll work on for the rest of the week on those. But once we sign off here, just make sure you start going over your questions, getting the correct answers, a little bit more thought out answers, if you will. I would appreciate that. And just remember, in a world where you can be anything, be, yes, kind. Thank you so much. You guys have a great day, and we miss you. I'm thinking about you every day. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.